welcome to Imperial Advisor episode 31. We're back doing double shifts, and I've, as a present to all of you, put on clothes because, which I was very reluctant to do, because it is way too hot here at the moment. So yeah, we've got a whole other pack to review. We've got Tainted Lands, and we've got a full house. Baz has literally rushed back from his exam. Congrats, Baz. Did it go well?
That's either a really good sign or a really bad sign.
I mean, is the exam still going on technically?
There's another half hour left in it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you aced it, Baz, right?
Yep, that's what I'm telling everyone.
Nice. I love the confidence.
And yeah, so there's a few other just little bits and pieces to pick up maybe before we dive into the cards. So Neil Montazar, who we've had on the show before, has been getting the World Cup up and running. So I know there's quite a lot of guys involved. Do you know? Are any of you guys actually involved?
Not yet.
None of you are representing Ireland?
Not yet.
There is an Irish team though, right?
Is there? I would hope so.
I think I saw Ireland on the list.
There's a couple of guys in the Irish Facebook group who are working on organising at the moment. I think they've just about enough people to start a team, but I'm not sure whether they're going to go ahead with it or not yet.
Do you remember this discussion? I think it was Leon in 2011. Owen, we were discussing if the World Cup of L5R, who would represent Ireland way back when.
Yeah, that's always a fun discussion because it really gets into regional rivalries. People going, it's totally
absolutely
cool.
So who would put you on the spot? Andy, who are your picks?
Okay, so it'll be you just go with the Hadamoto straight up. You go with Ken Curran, Dave Russell, Owen Burke. Is it a 4-man team or is it 6?
Let's say 4.
I think it's 4 men, but you can go for Pierre.
And Justin Walsh. Or Pierre must not, yeah.
I'd cut Owen or Justin. Justin's not even the real Hadamoto.
No.
You're out. You're so out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I gotta go with who is is there a French player who's currently residing in Dublin?
Yes,
Pierre.
That's
Pierre. Pierre would be the
Hadamoto
first
titles.
That would definitely be. He'd probably be the first pick then, and then the other 3 would take the back seat.
In L5R, like in soccer and rugby, we're using the residency and grandfather rules to their maximum effect.
Well, actually, they specifically stated in the rules that you could be resident or you could be native.
Right.
Well, I think they're not really going to check backgrounds for whether you're native or not for the L5R World Cup.
I kind of doubt they're going to ask you to produce your passport, all right?
Or even residency. I think I could probably claim that I was in Chinese residence, and they would probably accept that. Although I don't think anyone else would be playing.
There are a bunch of Chinese players.
Really?
It's printed in Chinese. L5R has been printed in Chinese. Jackie Yu, who's moved over to China, was looking to trade Chinese copies of L5R for English copies.
No way, Jackie's still playing? Or Jackie's back into the game? Jeez, that's
still
great.
playing. He's over in China,
It's cool.
And also you have to give props to Owen. So aside from Baz's heroic efforts to make the show, Owen is... where are you right now? You're on holidays?
Tenerife.
Nice. What better thing to do than talk cards?
This is a prime crab pack. I can't be missing out on this one.
Absolutely. All right.
Before we get stuck into it, there's also the UK Team Championships coming up.
Yes.
So that's one of the groups in Milton Keynes are organising. So again, it's group rules again. So they're doing teams of 3 players, and it has to be 3 different clans. So they've got a couple of other interesting strategies there. I think tickets aren't on sale yet. They're due to go on sale on the 14th of July, I think. So it's one of the things that they have been doing for a while now with the FFG games. They do a bunch of team tournaments, and it looks like it's been quite successful for a while. So yeah, have a look out for the UK Team Championship. You'll see the UKTC 2018 logos floating around.
Okay. Excellent stuff. So I think it's time to crack open the pack. So first up, we have a Phoenix province, Teaching of the Elements. So it's a 5 province strength province. It's a Earth province, and it gets +1 strength for each claimed ring. So Justin, how does this fit into your the Phoenix stable of provinces, or does it fit?
It's an instant coaster. It's one of the worst provinces in the game and should not see play under any circumstances. Never ever put this in a deck. It's terrible. It's an Earth province, so you're into a whole bunch of provinces that generally are just farmable, that they don't do anything. They're big stats. It's competing, I suppose, more specifically against Ancestral Lands and Entrenched Position, both of which get an innate bonus against one type of conflict. Teaching Elements, I suppose it could be potentially as strong as it could potentially have 8 province strength, but does that really matter?
Think about it. Like
no.
either your opponent, either your opponent has claimed 3 rings for some reason, or you've claimed 3 rings, and you definitely don't need this thing. You just don't need it either way.
No, it's terrible. I mean, you wouldn't play this in your row because there are simply better provinces to play. Even in Earth, you'd play Public Forum over this almost every single time. And you would play either Entrenched or Ancestral Lands under your Stronghold, because Strongholds get attacked really quickly on turns, generally when they're exposed. So you're just, this is probably going to have, a lot of the times no rings will have been claimed. Maybe 1 ring will have been claimed, maybe. And then it's just a really crappy blank province. It's terrible. It's an absolute coaster. Rubbish. Don't ever play it.
Anyone want to speak in favor of Teaching of the Elements?
Well, I mean, if in the next pack there's a Phoenix card that says you're considered to have 12 rings while this character is in play, then we might revisit it.
Even then, or destroy. Maybe if it was destroy an opposing character with strength equal to your province strength. There you go. That card would be great. That would make this almost okay.
I will say,
and you'd still play Ancestral Lands. Anyway,
I will say, with the rise in kind of blitz decks coming with Lion and potentially Unicorn coming up as kind of a nasty, fast attacking conquest deck that tries to knock down 2 provinces on turn 1, 2 provinces on turn 2, I think high province strength provinces may become more important, which will be good. Though, I mean, look at the options you have here. Like, there's so many better provinces to stick under the Stronghold, or to have in a row. You've got Public Forum. You've got no. It'll never see play. But high province strength province may do, but not this one.
Yeah,
Jesus. No.
Yeah, but not this one. It's the worst of a bad bunch.
Okay. Let's try another province and see how that fits. So this is a Unicorn 4th strength province called Border Fortress. It is a fort, and it's an air province with the action during a conflict at this province, choose a face down province, reveal that province. Baz, what are your thoughts on a border province? Is there any sort of interesting shenanigans we should think about? Because obviously this can be used either sort of offensively or defensively.
Using it offensively is super dangerous. It really depends what your opponent has, because it gives them more options. So the obvious ones that we know about are Right to the Cause and Elemental Fury, so probably more rally than anything else. When you reveal your own rally for Unicorn, you're going to basically switch that conflict to military, assuming it isn't already, and that doubles your chances that the first attack into you is going to be military. So you've got 4 provinces. If you've got Rally to the Cause and you've got Border Fortress in your province row, it's 50-50. They're going to attack straight into a military province. The only other options that we're aware of currently are Tears of Amaterasu to get you some fate, Night Raid to discard some cards, and Guardians of the Sekitsu, which Crab have the option of playing but haven't really enjoyed yet, and Bow's small guys, so it's kind of counter to what the current Unicorn approach is. The real danger one on the far side is if you accidentally reveal the Dragon's Restoration of Balance and end up discarding a bunch of cards yourself. But it is an action. As we start seeing more on reveal provinces, it will get more. It'll get more play. It'll certainly have more options. Right now for Unicorn, I think if they will play it, they'll be playing this with Rally to the Cause to try to get as many conflicts as they can into military where they're a little bit stronger. And if they get attacked into this a second turn, or if Rally gets revealed first, yeah, I'd say they'll use it to reveal a couple of provinces and kind of risk situation just to see what they can get out there, because provinces are dangerous. Knowing what's out there is good. And if you're in a situation where you're forcing your opponent to use their reactive ability on the offense when they were expecting to use it on the defense, so if they're attacking in military and you use this to reveal a Rally to the Cause, chances are they wanted to attack military because that's the decision that they made. So yeah, limited play currently, I would expect. We'll have to see in the long term what additional provinces come out for the Unicorn to use.
Anyone else have any sort of views on Border Fortress? It's an air province. What's that sort of going to compete with, do you think?
It's going to compete with Manicured Garden, and it's going to compete with Fertile Fields, both of which are very solid but not hugely exciting provinces. I think if Unicorn got a water roll, which they actually might be shooting for, you could combo with Along the River of Gold, where Along the River of Gold is a province with an action from the last cycle, where during a conflict at a water province, choose a participating character, switch that character's base military and political skill at the end of the conflict. Whereas if you have Along the River of Gold, you can flip that face up to activate it, or flip your opponent's water province face up so you can use it there. So I can see maybe them using that as well. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I think that they might certainly consider that. So yeah, that will be interesting going forward. That's about the only other combo I can think of it.
Andy, do you see anything like a sort of card that might let you flip provinces back face down to sort of really start powering something like the Border Fortress? Would you like a card like that?
A card like that could be really, really powerful. I mean, if you're thinking about things like Restoration of Balance, or Restoration of Balance is on reveal, right? Not on breaking. Yeah, it's on reveal. So a card like that, I mean, there are very few really powerful on reveal ones. I think what's the other one that makes you? Oh Jesus, I can't remember half the cards in the game. But basically, I don't really see a benefit to it. The most played ones are the ones you get the most incremental value out of, and I would say flipping them face down doesn't really serve much of a purpose right now. I don't see too much. Yeah, I don't see too much power really in flipping up and down, or flipping back face down anyway.
So the Dragon already do have a character, Kitsuki Yuruma, who can do that. When Yuruma comes into play, you can choose a face-up province and flip it down. There's a really fun rule situation when you charge him into a conflict. It then put it face down again. It'll immediately flip back up again, and you get a second reveal. It considers it blank, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, he saw some play and then has kind of drifted out of the Dragon decks after charge was there. But yeah, if the Unicorn got a way to reset their on-reveal provinces, that definitely would make this Border Fortress a lot stronger.
All right. Next up, we have a neutral province, Earth Province, Upholding Authority. It's 3 province strength, and it gets 2 strength when you have an Earth roll. So I've seen a few with this sort of pattern previously. Interrupt. When this province is broken, the attacking player reveals his or her hand, choose a card in their hand, and discard any number of copies of that card from their hand. Justin, what do you think of Upholding Authority?
Yeah, it's really good. Or potentially really good. I mean, generally, in effect, this is going to function more or less like a pretty bad Night Raid. But the benefit it does give you is it does give you hand information, and Earth provinces are generally fairly underwhelming without much of anything in the way of proactive effects. So that immediately brings this into contention for the Earth slot in many decks. Obviously, like looking at someone's hand and discarding a card, it's a very, very powerful effect. So yeah, It's super good, and again, arguably better for clans that do not have an Earth role, because this is a province you really want broken as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's a good card. I'd expect us to see quite some play, just because the Earth provinces generally tend to be on the weaker side. So yeah, good card. Good card.
Who do you see playing this of the clans? We know Lion sort of are not so averse to having their own provinces broken. So is this a sort of a Lion province more so than others?
Could be. What do Lion will generally play public forum? I mean, I think, to be honest, probably the big choice. Well, I suppose the big choice for a lot of decks, not all, will be between public forum and maybe and upholding authority. Like, there will be certain decks that will want a big Earth province underneath their stronghold still. But just as as a rough generalization, anyway, I would say, depending, certain decks will prefer upholding authority. Certain decks will prefer public forum. For Lion, which is a heavily tempo-based deck with easily broken provinces, they may actually prefer public forum, just simply because it extends the game just a little bit more in their favor. But not necessarily. It's going to be interesting to see where this card goes and the kinds of decks that it fits into. I mean, the effect is generically just very, very good. So it may oust public forum from the majority of decks, but it's something. It's something I want to. It's a card actually. I really want to play this card for a few games to get a better feel for it.
Do you think it would make its way into Phoenix?
Yes, it absolutely would make its way into Phoenix. I think I prefer this over public forum.
Yeah, the way we're going to see a couple more cards, at least one more card anyway, that I think is kind of interesting in this set. You guys will probably slam me for it, but I think there's something interesting here, and there's something interesting with ditching cards and getting copies of particular cards out of a person's hand. So let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we mentioned up front there's quite a few good crab cards. This is Apprentice Earthcaller, so it's a crab clan Shigenja with the Earth trait. 3 fate for 3 military, 1 politics, and 1 glory. Action: during a conflict, choose an attacking character without attachments. Till the end of the conflict, set the character's skill values to its printed values. Owen, what are your thoughts? I know you've talked in the past about the lack of good Shigenja in crab. Is this one that starts to make up for that?
I like her a lot. She's going to have to work very hard to get into the very competitive 3-slot in crab. Her stats are a little below par, but not hugely. She is the cheapest Shigenja crab have, and her action is really where it's at. What's really important about her is when she's on the table, if your opponent is planning on breaking a province by throwing down a bonsai or something else like that, he's got to immediately invest in an attachment to keep her from just flat out preventing him from doing that. Because if someone goes in with their cheap guy and then goes bonsai, and she's on the table, she can just go, yeah, set you to your base values, you're done. You're not changing, no more, no bonsai for you, no other stuff for you. So she's a very potent effect. So your opponent needs to double up on cards for you to rely on a bonsai to break the province, which is significant. And she's really kind of the second crab card that is good at actually winning battles on the defense. Well, third, really, if you got the stronghold and you count the Harumi Yojimbo. In that she can actually help you win on the defense. And she has her offensive uses as well. If you've been debuffed with by being dishonored, negative event card, you can use her to wipe the buff someone you're attacking person, wipe the debuff when you're attacking personalities. So it makes her very flexible. She's not going to be an auto include, but I think crab players are going to be seriously considering Apprentice Earthcaller, Kadama, the Mantis Shigenja, and Kuniari, and of course the Witch Hunter. And you could see a crab set, which is the high end of it is all Shigenja, and then you get to fit Cloud the Mind, and Cloud the Mind is fantastic. And with more and more really powerful characters coming in, and maybe a little bit of Let Go being splashed less, it's going to become more and more of a powerful attachment. Yeah, really good card.
I know we've seen sort of some kind of interesting, like almost a mini meta around attachments with, when some clans are starting to load up with a lot of attachment hate, there's a response to playing fewer and fewer attachments, but by other decks. Do you think this is another piece in that puzzle, which is sort of pushing people back into attachments who might otherwise have been avoiding them?
I think there'll be a strong. There was always a market for attachments, and it's going to come back with more and more stuff. Like going wide is still going to be a really good strategy, and some of the clans are going to be rewarded for going wide. But some of them, if you look at the straightened shenanigans that are available for Unicorn in this set, and even some cards that we kind of didn't rate, like Curry Favor and Crane, we're going to see more and more times, well, actually, we want to use this one big character multiple times in a turn, and I want to use these smaller ones as kind of like support, especially when you're looking at stuff like wanting to do an extra military challenge or something. I definitely see attachments becoming more of a thing because, hey, these are extra value, and especially if I'm doing 2 conflicts with a personality in a turn, they're significant extra value. So yeah, I see that. I see that happening, particularly with some clans.
Anyone else a fan of the Apprentice Earthcaller?
She's really great. She's just generically good. She works on attack. She works on attack. She works on defense. Like if you're getting some sort of force penalty, some sort of politics or military penalty, she'll reset you back up. She'll set somebody back down. She's great against Lion, great against Yoritomo, if we've all seen Yoritomo. She's just really good. I think she's a solid card. But Eoin knows more about where she fits in the deck. So if it's a competitive thing for that 3 slot, then she's just a generically good card that I think fits in a lot of decks.
And great art. Speaking of which, next up we have Kuniyori. 5 cost, unique crab can, Shigenja Earth, and the daimyo of the Kuni family. For 5 cost, you get a 4/4 with 1 glory and Shigenja with Earth. During Earth conflicts, each character you control gets +1 military, +1 politics. Action during a conflict, lose 1 honor, choose a player. That player discards 1 card at random from his or her hand. Eoin, let's go right back to you for Kuniyori. Is it what you hoped for?
Yeah, he is fabulous. Like this, he's in the argument for the best of the crab 5-drops because he's definitely better than Taka, and he's certainly competitive with Kasada. They both have kind of an interesting sort of denial-ish theme. Yari is super good just because he's for politics, and that's the same as Taka, and tied with the highest in the crab. And he pumps all of your characters during Earth conflicts. So if you really need to get Earth early and you want to do a politics conflict early, and you often do with Crab, him on the board is fantastic because you can just go Yari politics for 5. And someone has to do something about that immediately. And at any point, like nearly every Shigenja, he can use his action, even in a conflict he's not part of, to lose an honor and force you to discard a card at random. And that's just head wrecker for your opponent. Absolute head wrecker. He's like the 1 glory is whatever. You'd prefer it to be 0, to be honest, but like 1 is fine. And with his trade, it means that attacking into Crab for Earth is really tough. Because if I got 2 1/1s to block with, if you go into me with military or politics, attack me for Earth, I'm going to defend, I can bound my box, and I've got 6 strength. And that's ridiculous to try and crack. So he's going to be a huge influence once he's on the table. And he's scary. He will be probably one of the top 3 targets in Crab for your opponent Cloud the Minding him. Because you want to switch his traits off. You absolutely do, because he's going to have a disproportionate effect on the game. And the trait is a head wrecker. It's real mind games. And it's a lovely callback to his original ability, which was to bound, discard a card from your hand to force your opponent to discard a card at random. So it's really, really good.
Andy, I think this was a card you alluded to earlier.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those cards that it gets interesting. I'm thinking more about the next Phoenix card, or one of the next Phoenix cards. But this card in general is just the attritional aspect of this is just really, really harsh. I mean, Crab have the best tools for keeping a character around for a really long time, and keeping this guy on the board is just going to hurt so much. It's going to cost a random card a turn every turn that he's active. He's just he's a beast. He's got good stats. He pumps everybody. Great card. Crab they've really done well out of this pack thus far, and it gets better.
And Justin, he's kind of one of the classic figures of L5R. Are you a fan of Kuniori?
Oh, he's incredible. I would disagree with Owen. I think Kuniori is head and shoulders above Quesada in terms of general power. Yeah, he's incredible. Seeing this guy drop against you is going to be just awful. And with Crab's array of Iron Mines and Reprieves and Vanguard Warriors, the fact that he's going to be on the table for most of the entire game is just heartbreaking. That action is crazy. So the the dual threat that Crab represent of beating you either militarily or via dishonor gets an enormous boost with Kuniori. Not only is he incredibly potent in political conflicts, he just adds an additional layer of lockdown to just Crab's standard strategy, and being effectively shut out of the Earth Ring is going to be brutal. Especially with Crab being keepers. I mean, you in a lot of cases you'll be almost forced to attack into them for Earth on your first conflict when you're first player, because if you don't, they're going to come across, select the Earth Ring, activate Kuniori, and you're going to be discarding 2 cards at random from your hand. That is just backbreaking. To be honest, he kind of worries me. He's the kind of card that could very well end games quite quickly when he comes down, but he's superb. He's jaw-droppingly good.
All right. Let's move on to Asahina Takako. So this is a unique 4-cost crane character. And she is zip military with 5 politics, 2 glory, Shugenja air. You may look at face down cards in each province you control. Action: choose a card in one of your provinces, switch that card with a card in another of your provinces, or discard it. Baz, what are your thoughts on Takako?
She's definitely an interesting one. Getting 5 skill in a character is fantastic. Like it can do some serious damage. And on a 4-coster is pretty good, but having a zip in anything is always significant, because you're facing against this character. You know that you can go in for a military conflict, and she's not going to defend. So that's basically a given. Having a look at the traits, Shugenja and air, so pretty typical for the Asahina. We're definitely going to see more air coming along with the crane. This elemental set seems to be building up everyone's Shugenja options, and we're seeing more and more crane lineup. I think we've yet to see any sheep Shugenja, really. So I think they already have their 1 cost, but the majority up to this have been 4-cost Shugenja. I think we saw a 3-cost Shugenja last pack, and we're back to another 4-cost Shugenja. So that's turning out to be an expensive proposition for them. Yeah, Asahina Artisan was the other one. So they do have that 1 cost. So they're definitely been able to develop a Shugenja deck, which is a good thing to see. Now the ability is pretty subtle. So you're able to look at all of your face-down provinces, so you always know what your next turn looks like. That may not seem like a lot, but it could be a big difference. You know where you need to defend, you know how much faith you need to hold on to for the next turn. It means any of the flipping abilities that you have, like Narishma, you know exactly the right one to do. So yeah, I mean that can be a lot more significant than initially it might seem. There are some weird interactions. Raise the Alarm is one. Raise the Alarm is playable when you've got her on the field, which is a bit weird. But But yeah, and the fact, of course, that she can switch is also a big deal. It means once you get a province flips up a holding, you can always make sure that that holding lands on exactly the province you need it on. And that's a pretty big deal. Like getting your Imperial Palace on your Shameful Display means you're keeping both for the rest of the game, most likely. Is she worth playing? I don't know. Obviously, if you're going for the full Shigenja Crane deck, yeah, most certainly. But yeah, I don't know if she's going to make the cut for what you would call the kind of top tier characters in the Crane deck. But maybe, as I said, the ability is pretty subtle. So
Baz has given a kind of a considered view that the consensus in chat seems to be that she's terrible. Andy, you seem to be in agreement with that from your comments.
She's junk. She's absolute junk. Like, like looking at the cards, look at Kuniori. For 5, you got a 4/4, and now for 4, you're getting a -5. She could have been a 0/5. Why not be a 0/5? Why not give her 3 glory or something? Maybe that's a downside. I actually don't know. But those abilities that she has are just so irrelevant. They're just so irrelevant in the clan. It's just like John Butler was saying that she's so like, why give this to Crane? I mean, why not give this to any other clan who could actually use this really, really well? Like Unicorn's emerging mechanic of flipping provinces up and down, or Dragon, their emerging mechanic of flipping provinces up and down and manipulating that. But even then, I mean, I don't like the mechanic and I don't see the relevance of it. It just doesn't seem like it could be useful. Maybe I'll just get completely. I'll just get blown out of the water in the next expansion when they have all these like, if you switch this card under the province while it wasn't in play or while it wasn't up face up, then it comes into play and it gets +10/+10. I don't know. I'm theory crafting here, but essentially this card is terrible.
Okay. Next up, we have Bonsai Garden, Crane Clan holding +0 province strength. It's a garden action during a air conflict. Gain 1 honor. Justin, what are your thoughts on Bonsai Garden? Is this a piece in the honor deck puzzle?
Maybe. I have to say this looks. I mean, okay, like it's.
Is it the Shinsei Shrine of the LCG?
No, it's definitely no
not
way.
The Shinsei Shrine. It's nowhere near the Shinsei Shrine of L5R or New 5R.
Shinsei Shrine is a proper clock.
Yeah. No, this is fine. I think. I mean, I suppose you're going to probably gain 1. Okay, you can count probably on gaining 1 honor from this holding. So you have to ask yourself if 1 free honor is worth a dynasty slot, and maybe it is. I mean, and I suppose there is some kind of magical world where this hangs around for a couple of turns and you manage to get some value out of it. But I'm really not sure. If this had been during a conflict, gain 1 honor, I think this would be an instant superstar card. The fact that it is so restricted, that it's restricted to a single conflict type, means that if you are threatening honor, your opponent will target this immediately. The province will probably fall instantly, or it'll fall on that turn more than likely if it's that much of a threat. So the reality is you're probably never gaining more than 1 honor from this. And as I said, that becomes the real question then. Is probably gaining 1 honor worth the opportunity cost of including this in your deck? And I have to say, for current builds, no, absolutely not. But if if some kind of turbo honor deck becomes viable, because I think you would have to play this in a turbo honor deck, then yeah, maybe it becomes a good card in that. But at the moment, I really don't see it.
Anything to be said for Bonsai Garden?
It's +0 province strength. Why isn't it 1 or 2 or something?
Garden. Oh, it's not 4 or 5.
Or
it could have like thorny plants in it,
It's but I mean,
pretty sure it's got bonsai trees in it.
Yeah, very small trees you might triple.
Tripping over invading armies. Just it's no pretty place garden. It's no fantastic garden. It's certainly a garden.
There's
I mean,
been
the thing is, Honor's probably going to sneak up on us. Now, it'll take a while, but it's probably going to sneak up on us. And, they're probably being very cautious about it because it might be the least interactive victory condition or something. I don't know. It's a piece of the puzzle, but it's certainly not an edge piece or a corner. It's one of those bits in the middle that's mostly a blob of green with some red in it. And, hey, maybe it'll make sense eventually. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We've got the Impulsive Novice next, who is a Dragon Clan character. A 2/2 for 2 with 0 glory and a monk. This character gets +1 military and +1 politics while you've claimed the fire or the void ring. So this is sort of a mechanic we see a little bit in this pack, which is the bonus while you've claimed a ring of a certain type. Baz, how does this monk stack up?
So I have to admit, from the last episode, I was quite down on the crab card. So it was the 1-cost 1/1 that got +2. Owen made a pretty convincing case for it, and looking at it, I think it's a lot better than I thought. This is 2 cost though. This is 2 cost for 2/2, and you get an extra +1/+1. So it's twice the cost for the option of getting 3 in either side rather than just the 1. It does have 0 glory, which can be good and can be bad. Obviously, if you're dishonored, you don't care about it. The flip side is one of the rings that's important for this is fire. So if you manage to claim fire, there's no point honoring up the Impulsive Novice because he's 0 glory. So if he did have 1 or 2 glory, I could definitely see that as a bonus in this case rather than a negative. That said, it is another monk. And right now, the Dragon Monk deck is putting the pieces together, and part of what's missing is a decent spread of monks. So I think initially this character is going to see play, and it's going to see play in those monk decks. I don't think it's going to break into what I would consider the kind of top-level Dragon decks, where they just take all the busted shit and put it together. Because there are definitely more proactive cards than this. But yeah, currently it's definitely got a place.
Anyone else have any takes on Impulsive Novice?
I just want to ask Baz a question on it, actually. In the monk deck, does it not have a place just because it's a 2/2 for 2? It seems just like it's a staple at the moment.
No, for the monk deck, it'll definitely go in. But I'm not sure a 2/2 for 2 is a great, with nothing on it, is a great addition to any of the existing decks, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like one of the cards that's kind of seeing that it's coming out of decks is the Knit Adept, which is a 2/1 for 2, with an ability to bow an attachment, to bow someone without an attachment. Like that's a humongous ability. But that's a character that's beginning to kind of drift out, partially because of how important assassination is, how dangerous that is, but also because there are better options out there. So yeah, but for the monk deck, getting more monks is good.
Okay, so from one novice to another, we'll go on to Court Novice. So this is a Scorpion Clan 1-cost character with 1 military, 1 politics, 0 glory. A courtier. This character gets +2 politics while you've claimed the air or water ring. Owen, you've been a fan of Scorpion 1-cost courtiers in the past. Is this Court Novice up to par?
Absolutely. You can, because he's a 0 glory courtier. Scorpion love dishonoring their courtiers. So having a 1-drop, 1/1 who can just dishonor and still remains at full effectiveness is very attractive. Really, really strong from that point of view. Because it means you get him out, and it's so easy to play a 1-coster, and that means you can have you can play Forged Edict or For Shame, and those are both huge meta-defining cards for Scorpion. So this is just really, really, really good value for them. And the 1/1 stat means that he can threaten military if you need, just as a throwaway conflict. I got the favor and it's a military. Sure, I'll do a military challenge with my courtier, my Court Novice. Away he goes. And that's great. That's just really, really, really valuable for just straining your opponent's resources a little bit. No, solid.
Yeah. Justin, similar opinion on Court Novice?
Yeah, absolutely. Really good card. Yeah. really good card. Like Scorpion already have a fantastic array of 1/1s, but I think this guy will slot in neatly into decks that don't want to play Sinister Stoshi as much. It's hard to see him replacing Scorpion's other 1/1s. I think they're maybe just slightly better. But yeah, super card. Very, very good.
Okay. Let's roll on to the Sneaky Shinjo, the unicorn character. Another 1/1 for 1. This time with 1 glory and a Bushi. Reaction after you pass in the dynasty phase, play this character from your province. Justin, let's stay with you. Kind of a interesting mechanic. So when you pass in the dynasty phase, play this character from your province. I know there was a little bit of discussion about what exactly play this character means, because it doesn't mean the same as the
no, it's different from put into play.
Wording. Yeah, put into
yeah,
play.
It is. So put into play means the character goes into play, or it goes into play in your home for free. Play the character means that you have to pay for the character as normal, but you have the option then of also putting additional fate on the character if you want. So Unicorn are in a strange position where they've had previous cards that have encouraged them to pass first, but they also have a new mechanical focus on outnumbering their opponent, which pretty much demands that you keep on pumping characters out of your provinces, which means that you will not be passing first. So this is a guy that allows you potentially to pass first and maintain the numerical advantage, or establish the numerical advantage that you are looking for in Unicorn. So from that point of view, he fits into the mechanical focus perfectly well. He's a 1/1 for 1. I mean, he's not the flashiest character in the entire universe, but I think the fact that he aids the mechanical focuses that Unicorn already have is it's a significant positive. And spending one fate to kind of guarantee yourself outnumbering in a critical conflict is a big deal. So I don't know. I definitely think he'll see experimental play from the start. Whether or not he remains in the deck, that's harder to say. The stats aren't particularly fantastic for a 1-drop. Unicorn can do better with their current 1-drops. So I think it'll come down to whether or not he contributes sufficiently to the outnumbering mechanic. So he may well see play.
All right. Owen, I know John is trying to sabotage the stream by sending you a message on your phone while you try and Skype us.
Yep.
What's your take on the Sneaky Shinjo? Or what's John's take, perhaps?
So the Sneaky Shinjo is Brad. You've got to pay for the fake cost. Brad was cheating at Birmingham by paying for free.
So
he's good.
It doesn't work the way the game designers thought it worked?
No, of course not.
Right.
Game designers
it's not uncommon, though.
What card in this game has ever done that before?
Game designers don't know rules. That's a different job entirely. But yeah, no, he probably worked a different way at some point in design. You know yourself. He's good. He's cheap. He helps them with their numbering stuff. Helps them keep tempo. Just solid, you know. And hell, you can pass, gain the fate, and then basically pay using that fate. So all good. Okay. 1 glory, which isn't great on them actually. That's the only thing that I don't like about him.
Okay.
Be better with 0.
Next up we have a Marauding Oni. I think we'll have to go back to Justin for this guy because it is a Shadowlands Oni. So it's a neutral card. It's 2-cost character with 4 military and zip politics. Very disappointing. This Oni is poor at court. And 0 glory. This character cannot be honoured or dishonoured. Forced reaction after this character is declared as an attacker or defender. Lose 1 honour, unlimited. No price could be too high for victory. Justin, what do you think of
No truer words. Absolutely, our first Oni, and he's actually pretty good. So 2 cost, he's in the assassination range, but that's absolutely fine. He is a 4 military skill base, which threatens most provinces in the game. The dash political skill probably isn't going to matter all that much. You were buying him to run over the table and smash your opponent in the face. The forced reaction of losing 1 honor, it can potentially put you on a clock, but in probably most games is not going to be that relevant at all. And the canopy honored or dishonored is more or less a purely fluff thing, but does protect him from certain cards like Noble Sacrifice and I Can Swim. So yeah, he's probably going to see most play in, as I say, well, decks that want to go over and beat you up really, really quickly, that don't have a lot of military skill already. So bizarrely, I don't think he's necessarily a Lion card, just because they have a lot of guys that can get to 4 skill or have 4 skill anyway. So he's kind of just doing something that Lion already do really, really well. Where he could see a lot more play is in decks like Scorpion, which don't have a lot of innate military power to draw on. So he's quite a cheap way of covering up for that shortcoming. And other clans, Phoenix might use him. Like there are other cards that would kind of hint towards Phoenix getting a bit more aggressive. And yeah, just really any other clan that wants a cheap, aggressive military personality, he'll slot into those decks very, very handily. Yeah, not a subtle card, not a very deep card, but a very effective card.
Yeah. Baz, your take? Seems certainly there's value for money there.
Yeah, definitely. So we've already seen a couple of 2-cost 4 military characters. There's one of the Sheba and one of the Crab, but in both cases they were not able to attack or couldn't assign to attack. So you trade that out, you get your zip politics, and you get some dishonor loss. It looks like a solid card. I'm not quite sure where it finds a place. And one of the things that's always been interesting me for the Shadowlands cards is a lot of the time when design produce a effective Shadowlands card, it will fit into certain decks. Not necessarily all decks, just certain decks. Which means a couple of clans get powerful access to Shadowlands cards. But for other clans, the temptation is not there. They don't see as much value in it as maybe the Scorpion would for this one. I can see Travis talking about the dishonor loss is quite effective in Scorpion because once they pop down a bit, they can activate their stronghold, reduce their opponents. So they can make a merit out of the fact that honor loss is happening. Yeah, so that sometimes bothers me because it kind of suggests that certain clans are more likely to be corrupted from a story perspective than others, purely based on mechanics developed by a card. That said, when you get good cards with Shadowlands, it's always fun to see. So yeah, definitely like it.
Yeah. Will anyone be refusing to play it only on pure principle? Or
No.
No?
Not me, anyway. I think this card is so efficient and great, and it just facilitates a lot of things. It's just, I really like the card. I think it's really, really good.
Okay. Right. Next up, we have a card that has elicited some chat. So it is Spreading the Darkness. And speaking of corruption, this is a Maho spell with the Earth trait, and it's for Crab with 2 influence. It's a 0-cost event with the action lose 2 honor, choose a participating character you control. Till the end of the conflict, that character gets +4 military. Cannot be targeted by opponent's card abilities. Eoin, will you be spreading the darkness and spreading it liberally?
Much as I'm normally a good guy, this card is too good to refuse. This is in the running for most powerful card in the pack. Could be one of the most powerful cards in the game. This is a, relatively speaking, free, really powerful pump card. Now, it's part of actually a cycle of crab cards that the philosophy around them is pragmatic crab, which seems to be to bid low but spend its honor on other things. So we've seen hints of this before between this card and Yari and the 2-cost Haruma, the unique Haruma who improves your draw when you're bidding low. This card is really, really incredibly strong. This is going to see play well outside Crab. There's going to be a lot of people splashing Crab just for this card. It's got a hefty cost of losing 2 honor. But when you do that, you choose a participant character. That character gets +4 military strength and immunity to your opponent's card effects. When you play this card, your opponent has to Forged Edict, Voice of Honor it, Yogo Kikue it, or that's pretty much it. He's going to find it very difficult to affect the character you just target with Spread in the Darkness with actions at all. There are 1 or 2 things to get around it, but you're going, well, I want to crack this province, Spread in the Darkness. Do you have an answer? No. Well, then I'm probably breaking this province, because +4 military strength is a hell of a lot. Now, you can use this in a political conflict. It just makes you immune to events, and people will. This card is going to be huge. It is going to be all over the shop. What can you do about it? You can still attach attachments to the character that is Spreading the Darkness. You can bow them with the Water Ring, using a Guardian Kami or a Kami Unleashed, theoretically. And if he is the only character your opponent controls, you can get him with Way of the Crab. And pretty much nothing else works. So it's a really powerful effect. The Phoenix box is going to be, the spell box, the Conquest deck is going to be ludicrous with this card. It's going to be so frustrating. Because they're going to do this, you're going to be like, well, I have no answer to that character now. I just have to out-military him. And once he's got that protection on him, you can go, well, I'll bonsai him as well, and I'll attach this attachment, and I'll do this other stuff, and you can do nothing about it. So it's going to be hilariously potent. Really, really strong card.
Baz, what's your take on Spreading the Darkness? I may have been distracted during that by Belgium scoring in the 94th minute.
That's crazy.
Pretty amazing.
So bonsai is pretty much everywhere. And this is bonsai, but 1 more point of honor loss, and you can keep using it multiple times, and it's got an extra perk. So you go into a conflict with 2 characters, your opponent does something to 1, and you spread the darkness onto your remaining character. Options are really limited. This I think this is one of those kind of meta-defining cards that we're going to see everywhere. At 2 influence, we're going to see Crab getting splashed a lot for this. As Owen mentioned, the fact that it's a spell makes it even more potent in Kayut and Hasawa, which is great. As I was mentioning earlier, it enhances the chance of the entire Phoenix clan getting corrupted for no apparent reason. And I can't unsee the acronym for it anymore that has been shared in.
Justin, will you be?
Oh God, yes.
Spreading the darkness and getting STDs.
I will be spreading all the darkness. All the darkness. I mean, so this card is ludicrous and broken, and I hate the design, but it's insanely powerful. But I love the Maho, absolutely. No, what this card should have said is this character cannot be targeted by card abilities, full stop, until the end of the conflict. That would have been a much more balanced, interesting card, because you would get your +4, but after that would be it. So again, just speaking from a Phoenix perspective, this will get played on a Phoenix character who will then get Banzai'd, Supernatural Stormed. Your military conflicts, in fact, an awful lot of conflicts are simply, Phoenix is just going to shut you out, because they can just bounce this through the stronghold again. Ironically, I think this card, more than any card in the air pack, makes the air ring playable, because you will want to recoup that 2 points of honor in a lot of matchups. So I think you're going to see, I think, quite a number of air conflicts that result in spreading a lot of darkness. The card's bananas. Essentially, what it turns the air ring into. If the air ring actually said during a conflict, one of your characters can't be targeted, then that would be the most played ring. And that's what Spreading the Darkness effectively does. You exchange the 2 honor you're going to win from the air ring for making one of your guys untargetable. And that's ridiculous. Completely environment defining card. Crab is going to see massive amounts of splashing. The automatic other card I think you probably splash with this is Haruma Skirmisher. So that is this game speeds the game up, or this card, sorry, speeds the game up so much. And out of Phoenix, it's bananas because if they get one, they've got two, and that's probably all they're going to need. It's crazy.
And
yeah,
it can be used in all conflict types. It's not restricted to military, so and not restricted to attacking or defending. It is so broken.
Yeah, it's a broken card. I would, I think it's a broken card. But it's ridiculously powerful. This is the reason to splash crab now. For many clans. I mean, obviously for certain other clans, you've still got for Dragon specifically, you've got Pathfinder's Blade, you've got Reprieve. But for certain other clans, like for Lion, for Phoenix, for Unicorn, possibly, this card is bananas. So yep.
So
it's ridiculous.
Let's assume it's everywhere, that every clan that can is playing it. All of a sudden, the game's a lot faster. Provinces are getting broken a lot more, but you're also seeing a massive increase in the amount of dishonor loss that's floating around, self-inflicted at that.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that environment look like?
It's got a lot of yurts in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You see, the thing is that you're symmetrical, so you're just helping your opponent play their spreading the darknesses as well.
Very true. You're facilitating.
Well, I mean, as we were alluding previously to the fact that the environment is getting a lot more aggressive. So provinces with high province strength may actually become like a real consideration, that you're going to see the environment kind of bifurcate into two styles of deck. You're going to see very, very fast aggressive decks, and then you're going to see decks that essentially try to weather the storm, bleed cards in honor from an opponent's hand, and then just finish them off. Like Spreading the Darkness is a hugely polarizing card. It's going to turn military battles essentially into Bushido Brawl, with who can play the highest amount of force pumps is going to win conflicts. It blows a hole in most control strategies. I mean, I don't know what Scorpion players or how Scorpion players feel about this card, but I would not feel happy at all.
Scorpion have the best answers to this. They've
got
the Forged Edict and Yogo Kukue from the Phoenix pack, where when somebody plays a spell, they can play her from hand and negate the spell. They've actually got the best answers to this, as Scorpion always do.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, they have the best answers generically anyway. But when this breaks through, like, if you don't have a counter in your hand and this lands on you, then most Scorpion decks will just shrug and go, okay, well, there's a province gone, because they simply will not be able to do anything about it. They're not going to have the military strength to oppose, and yeah, there's going to be like a bunch of force pumps hiding behind an untargetable character. So, I mean, they definitely do have answers. But yeah,
this doesn't get around court games, right? Because court games forces the opponent to dishonor somebody. So I mean, you still have some things that you can do, indirect things.
Yeah, court games is political only though. So I would imagine most Spreading the Darkness, except in corner cases, that this is going to get played in military conflicts. To break problems.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move along to the Adopted Kin. So this is a dragon attachment. It is +0/+0 for 0. It is fire roll only, and limit 1 per character. It's also a condition. Each other attachment on the attached character gains ancestral. And obviously very thematic with some of the story things we've seen with the dragon. Baz, what's your take on the Adopted Kin?
Just before we get into that, the chat is correcting us that it does stop court games. But anyway, Adopted Kin. Yeah, this is an interesting attachment. 0 cost for +0/+0. What it does essentially is it makes all of your other attachments ancestral. So if you have a big character, say a Knitting Master, that you've dropped a bunch of attachments on, and he's about to leave play this turn. If you drop Adopted Kin at the very, very end, so after the last conflict, once he leaves play, all of the other attachments will go directly to your hand because they'll be ancestral. So it can be very effective. It can draw you a lot of cards, which is pretty cool. You can drop it on your opponent's characters. So if you Cloud the Mind a character for a turn, you can drop Adopted Kin and get your Cloud the Mind back. Similarly works with some of the poisons. It is a late game card, though. It will not help you at all early game, unless you're essentially trading one card for another. Really, you're hoping to get into the later game scenario where you've got a couple of attachments stacked up and then that character is naturally leaving play. It doesn't work with Reprieve. It doesn't work with Finger of Jade. It doesn't work when your opponent let goes one of your attachments. So there's a bunch of scenarios where it doesn't help you out. So I think when you're looking at this card, you have to consider this to be a late game card draw option. Is that good enough? I'm not so sure. I don't think so. It is fire roll only, which I find super interesting. Again, we're seeing one of these elementally locked cards. It currently can be played by Dragon and it can be played by Lion, and then we see what happens to it afterwards. It's only one influence to splash, so there definitely is a certain amount of play for it. But yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be worthwhile unless you've got a deck that's stacking up a lot of attachments like Dragon do. And if Dragon lose a fire roll, they don't have the option of playing it, and I'm not sure who else is going to bother.
Okay, anyone else have a view on Adopted Kin?
I just love what's happening in chat right now. The the jokes on the adopted kid, or the speculation as to who's being adopted or or who's guilty. The shady dude in the background, not as innocent as he seems. Maybe.
I believe that's Blue Sapphire who mistyped adopted Kim, and then there was a lot of debate about whether Kim should be adopted or not. Whether she deserved it, and yeah.
She looks like the main character out of the TV show Humans.
Just a question. Does this actually work? I'm a Bunny said, does this work on Cloud the Mind and Embrace the Void? Does it give Ancestral to those, and when they go back to the opponents? That's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it should do. When your opponent plays this, put a Cloud the Mind and Embrace and Void on that. Oh, okay. So each other attachment. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. So yeah, if I play one of my characters and then my opponent plays a Cloud the Mind on my character,
they'll get their Cloud back. They'll get their Embrace back. That's so pretty, I think pretty slick.
There's a risk, yeah.
If this does see play it.
Go on.
No, go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say this in Crabs seems sort of ridiculous. Sort of the Finger of Jade with what's his name? Oh God, the thing that keeps people in play.
Reprieve
doesn't work with it.
It doesn't work with it?
No, if the attachments destroy, so with Ancestral, you're looking for the character to leave play, and when the character leaves play, all his stuff goes back to hand. But if you accidentally break your katana, it's broken, mate.
I see.
No takebacks.
Certainly, in Dragon, I think Monk is the place this is most likely to see play, because you've got a whole bunch of Monk attachments, or Monk conflict characters if you're playing as attachments, and they're all super, super good. So getting them back again would be great. I don't see it making any waves in like the standard Dragon attachment deck, because really you're just saving yourself fans and katanas in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
But again, fire roll locked, so
interesting.
That's it. Dragon Line is Dragon. Yeah, so Dragon Line is the only place.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of line, we've got our first line card of the pack, and that's the Akoma Reservist, a 1-cost character who's a 1/1, 0 glory, and a Bushi. This character gets +2 military when you've claimed the fire or water ring. Take arms, the unicorn, or at our door. Andy, what's your take on this implementation of the gets a bonus when you've got a ring?
I mean, it's fairly standard. I think it seems like they all go for 3. They all go to 3/3 in the end.
Conflict character.
Oh,
conflict
character.
conflict characters is the biggest thing here, definitely, for sure. It's the biggest thing because a 1/1 for one is really, really good. It's kind of what Lion needed. They needed a good one drop conflict character. They have one, or do they only have 2 and 3? Or do they have
Asia's Chrome.
Aegis Chrome. Okay. But she's not super in their theme right now. I don't think the Aegis Chrome sees a ton of play. So I would say this card gets, it's pretty good. I really like it. We need more conflict characters in Lion. This is a good 1/1 conflict character that gets bigger. I can't see a problem with this card at all.
Okay. Owen, any take on the reservist?
It's conflict, so it is very flexible from that point of view. It's also nice because it gets a bonus when they have which 2 rings? Fire and water. So it means you can play this person down from hand after getting one of those rings, and that's a real wrinkle in your opponent's map. These characters would be a lot stronger if they were all conflict. So I think I think this one will see a lot of play. Lion like cheap extra guys, and that's really good, especially for their new box where if you have gotten the other ring on the defense or by a political attack, or getting this for a second one so you can win by 5 will be clutch. So good card.
Okay. Then up next we have the Writ of Authority, another line card, a 1-cost attachment, which is +0 military, +3 politics. It is Earth roll only, so that is Crab only currently, and it's restricted. If an opponent is more honourable than you, discard this attachment. So, Andy, maybe do you want to go first? And then Owen can take it if there's any crab aspect as the Earth roll.
This is going to be pretty short from my side, I would say. This is a piece of shit. It's a terrible card. It's a terrible card for the one reason that Lion don't have the Earth roll. That's fair enough. Crab do, but it means they can't play it against most clans, especially if you're going to bid heavily for cards. You're risking that you would not be able to put this in play or have this in play. I can't really see this being played ever. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is borderline unplayable, or maybe flat out unplayable.
Owen, anything to be said for Writ of Authority?
It's the fan is free, man. The fan is free, and another politics boost, sure, but the fan is free, and unless you're man, I'm playing 3 fans. 3 fans isn't enough, and I feel like splashing Lion, and I have the Earth roll. I mean, even a crab aren't this hard up for politics. Doesn't even come up with an advantage. It's got
Lion, who need it the most, can't even fucking use it.
Yeah.
Unless we took the Earth roll in a World Championships or when it flips.
I honestly think do you play 3 fan?
You probably do.
Most people play 3 fan at the moment. Dragon who love their attachments will occasionally play 1 Kitsuki's meta, maybe 2. They're typically down to 1 now. They've started playing the Jade statue. I can see where designers were going with this. The 0, the fan is 0 cost for a +0 +2. At 2 costs, you're getting that crane robe card, whatever it is, fashion. Hida fashion, and then this is somewhere in between. And then to kind of try balance it out, they're adding in a restriction that is kind of Lion-esque. Lion have a few cards where they want to be more honorable than their opponent already. But yeah. So I can understand what they were looking for. They were trying to get that middle ground, and I really don't feel like they made it. And then to have it Earth roll only as well. I mean, is this supposed to be a selling point? I
I have a theory on how this card came to be. This is one of these cards that was completely different up until the deadline to go to printing. And they were like, oh my God, playtest has told us the thing that we used to have is broken. We need something new. We need it right now, and it needs to not be broken. Okay, let's put this thing in. And this is where Writ of Authority came from. Or some, like, it's a rebalance. It's a last minute rebalance before a deadline, I would say.
Or maybe the role parts were done after the fact, that they put together the card set, they tested them, put them through playtest, and then at the very end of it, the designers went, all right, let's pick out some cards and let's assign some elemental roles to them, and then kind of went that direction. But yeah, this wasn't a great choice.
I feel we've already given this card too much time in the sun. So let's move on to the Feral Ningyo, a Phoenix character. It's 3 cost for 3 military, 2 politics, 0 glory. It's a creature, which I know at the start when they announced the whole cycle, they said that was one of the themes of the cycle, was creatures. It's 3 influence with the action during a water conflict. Put this character into play from your hand in the conflict. At the end of the conflict, shuffle it into your conflict deck. So Justin, it's a Phoenix conflict character. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good Phoenix conflict character. Obviously, Shrine Maiden is the absolute queen there. She's incredible. But the Feral Ningyo is definitely going to see some play. So 3/2/0 for 3 is maybe fractionally overcosted, but really not by much. But to be honest, the action is where this is all at. I mean, you're going to be pretty hard up if you're going to be actually paying Fate for this guy to put into play. But during a water conflict, you get to put him into play for free. So you just have a free 3/2, which can contribute on attack or defense. So it's effectively a free force boost in or free skill boost in water conflicts. Yeah, it's good. With I think it's Sako Azanumi in the water pack who's been previewed. She is ludicrously good and will very possibly make a place for herself in Phoenix decks. So the water ring is going to become even more important for Phoenix than it is already. And in those kind of decks, which probably figure to be running Crab Splash for spreading the darkness and stuff like that, yeah, they're probably going to turn into hyper aggressive decks with as many force boosts as possible. And this is just another one of those. So yeah, he's very, very good. Shuffling back in is neither here nor there. Phoenix, yeah, I mean, shuffling back in is fine, but yeah, he's good. He'll definitely see play. Definitely see play.
I've got a super hot take on this guy. I'm itching to say it. I think this breaks the game. This fundamentally breaks the pacing of the game that they're trying to impose on us. And why does it do that? Because there's a current pacing that you can only have so many conflict characters in your deck. You can only play so many of them. You can only possibly afford so many of them in conflict. You can only afford to put so many things from your board into play and keep it in play. This character is one piece that starts to break that. And it can come into play for free. It goes from your hand. It's such a good card. It's when you start to see more conflict characters in this game, and if they keep on the line of giving them for really cheap or free, this thing is going to be really, 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 really good. I think this thing starts towards a very broken theme in the game.
Justin, you were sort of frowning at the start of that. Are you convinced?
Oh no, sorry, no. I was just reading chat, and oh no, Mad Magician says 3/2 for 3/2/0 for 3 is damn near the best stat line for 3 cost. It's in terms of stats, yeah, but when you take a look at like 3/2s for 3 on the Dynasty side, most will come with an ability. So like a 3/2 blank for 3 is not super efficient. Like it's like the stat line is fine. It's not amazing, and you don't get an ability on top of that. Its ability is being able to drop it in for free. But yeah, like the Ningyo is very, very good. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, sorry. Just as I said, just reading chat.
Okay, let's roll along to the Oracle of Stone. So it's a Phoenix spell, so a 0 cost event. It's Earth spell. Action: each player draws 2 cards, and each player discards 2 cards. It's 2 influence. Justin, it's obviously a symmetrical card. It helps both players, or does it not?
Yeah, well, I went on an extended rant about this on the Imperial Advisor print review. Cards like this are either useless or broken, and they should never ever be printed. Ever be printed.
Yeah.
This card can only affect the game negatively. So yeah, it's a symmetrical effect, so it affects both players. So if you are playing a symmetrical effect, especially one that revolves around card draw. So okay. As we've talked about before, there are basically three pillars of degeneracy that result in most card games breaking, and those are resource acceleration, card draw, and card recursion. So this is card draw, so it ticks one of those boxes. Nasawa is recursion, so that ticks another one of those boxes. So this card immediately ticks two of the boxes for potential brokenness or potential degeneracy. Because it's a symmetrical effect, and because it's a symmetrical effect that revolves around card draw or card access, it's incredibly powerful, and it's not something you want your opponent to have, because it is costing you a card to play this, and your opponent is benefiting as much as you are probably. The only situation in which you are going to play a card like this is if you get to do something utterly, utterly degenerate with it. So if it facilitates a combo, or if it facilitates some other form of degenerate play that essentially breaks the game. So this card is either unplayable or it's broken, and there is no middle ground. With there might be a micron's width of middle grounds that a card like this can tread and be playable and fair, but it's either broken or it's unplayable garbage. And cards like this should never be printed. Like, I honest to God feel like we're back in like the mid 1990s with Magic the Gathering card game design. Like this is honest to God a design from 20 years ago. They were bad then. They've been phased out of just about every other card game. It's very disheartening to see a card like this show up in Five Rings.
FFG have had to ban two similar cards to this in Star Wars, the card game, and in Game of Thrones. They had to ban both of them. Admittedly, they had to ban the one in Star Wars LCG because some other cards in the same pod as it, but still, yeah, they've had to ban both of these cards before. I don't know why this is the well to go back to.
Yeah, third time's a charm. They'll get it right this time.
I don't get this. This was the card I was referring to earlier, and my immediate response to this was, "Oh my God, this is going to be broken. This is so cool. This is like find the deck that breaks the game."
And you can recurse this through Nasawa as well.
It's insane. The piece, like you said, it ticks two of the boxes. The pieces are there. All it needs is
all they need to do is print a Phoenix personality that says your opponent can't throw cards inside his bid space. That's all they need to do, and it becomes horrendous.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would break the game. That would just be, yeah.
It's already, with Tadaka, it's already fueling some very nasty things. With all the other cards that discard stuff from your hand, there's the political one that discards two cards after you win a conflict. There's the one that we just saw previewed in this set as well, that the province, that when it gets destroyed, you remove cards from hand. It's like you get the hard, you start making it the soft lock from Tadaka into a hard lock. Because you were now.
This card is really bad if you're playing Tadaka, because your opponent will simply draw their cards and then discard the cards they can't play, and have drawn into more playable cards. So it works against Tadaka.
Okay, fair enough.
you'd think it would, but it really, like, in practice, it's not going to. They're going to draw their cards, go, well, I've got copies of this in the bin already. In you go, and they'll potentially access to more playable cards.
But if you ever get pressure on their hand, if you can ever pressure their hand, like if you're claiming Earth, if you're like maybe double claiming Earth or something like that, if you're, let's say, I don't know, there must be ways. There are ways and means with like the cards that discard cards from it. If you're playing policy debate as well to get extra cards out of hand, it's just, I think it's just, it's sort of ridiculous.
To be honest, like this card could already be verging on broken. Like Phoenix, if Phoenix have a deck, if Phoenix can say run a deck of 30 spells, and they're running out of Nasawa, so you play Oracle of Stone and you discard spells, but you can then recurse. Like, I'm not sure. It's really that good. But
there is an option with it, because they can, if you work with Master Gisi Toshi, then you've got all of your spells. Every card you draw into is going to be an active one that you can actually play during that conflict. Everything your opponent plays is not going to be. So if you're going into that last province, hopefully every time you play this, every card you get will be a card you can play, and every card your opponent gets is one they can't.
Yeah, nothing good can come from this card. It should never been made.
We said it when Kyuden Aisawa came out that they have to be super careful with every spell that comes into the game. And in this set, we have 2 spells that are just
in this pack.
In this pack, we have two very, very powerful. Well, one that's obscenely powerful from the get-go, and one that has a massively high ceiling, just super high ceiling.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Next up, we have the Tainted Koku, a Scorpion Clan attachment. It is 1 cost and gives -1/-1 to the character. It is a poison with the interrupt. When the attached character leaves play, move this attachment to another character controlled by the same player. It is 2 influence cost. And obviously there's a comparison between Fiery Madness, but with this 1/1 as opposed to -2/-2, but has the ability to sort of be moved around. What are your thoughts on the Tainted Koku?
Very, very strong. It's a small penalty, but the fact is it's going to hang around. And this has the potential to go, you dropped a 1/1 conflict guy, you're now going to try and win this conflict. I don't feel like defending, and I'll just throw away Tainted Koku onto him. Now he's got no strength. Now you can't win the conflict. Now you bounce, grand. And when he goes away at the end of turn, I put it on somebody else. This is probably going to stick around for most of the game. This is going to be a small irritant, but it's just enough to swing stuff. And with Scorpion's kind of sub-focus of poison is sort of a kind of a disintegrate thing, where they put you to 0 strength, you die. They've got enough effects like that for this to be really nasty. Because you could be like, okay, you went in against, you're defending against Shoju, and you've got 2 3-strength guys. I put a Tainted Koku on you, disintegrate you with Shoju. It moves over to the other guy, disintegrate the other guy with Shoju. I mean, there's plays like that. Oh dear, my Tainted Koku went away, but it disintegrated 2 of your guys. Strong, very strong. And because it's going to hang around, that's a strong card. That's a very strong card.
I hate the design of this card. It's a really strong card. Let me start off with it's a really strong card. But usually, most of the time, there's a cost. There's a cost that the attached player can pay in order to get these kind of persistent things removed. Like most card games will give you some option. If it's something that's going to stick around for the entire game, you can pay some cost and you can take a hit now to stop yourself from losing in the long run. There's no option here. You just lose. The incremental advantage from this is just, if the game goes on more than 1 turn, this thing is already paid its cost and totally good. Even let going it isn't even really, almost not even worth it, because there's so many other better targets to let go, like a Cloud the Mind, like anything else. So it's not worth getting rid of. But it's going to stick around. It's going to cause so much damage. So I hate this card. I love this card, and I hate this card as well. I can see myself tearing my hair out playing against this card.
Okay. Next up, we have Press of Battle, a unicorn card, a 0-cost event. A really interesting card that is unfortunately water roll locked, so not playable by unicorn. It has the action. During a military conflict, if you control more participating characters than your opponent, choose a non-unique participating character by that character, and has 2 influence cost. Baz, is what are your thoughts on Press of Battle? I mean, I guess the role locking is kind of comes to the fore with a card like this.
So this is more than just role locking, because it's military conflict, and you have to have more participating characters. Largely, that's not particularly hard to set up, but it is a bit of a focus for Unicorn and also for Lion. It's a very strong effect. This is probably one of the cards that I would say would push a clan to pick a particular element. If Unicorn were able to play this all the time, it would be super strong. it would always be something you're terrified of. They're pretty much always going to have more characters than you do, either in raw numbers or shenanigans. And yeah, it's only military, which they're actively pushing to get more of anyway, so that's not so bad. And it is a bow effect, which is pretty significant. And actually, we're beginning to see a few more come in with this cycle, so we might see Ready for Battle get a little bit more prominence. Now, it is non-unique only, which we're seeing on a lot of cards that have kind of come up more and more and more in this cycle. The effects are only targeting non-uniques, so the value of unique characters is going up and up. So yeah, all of that Elemental Council is looking more and more valuable. I think it's a really, really good card. It'll be really disappointing if Lion and Unicorn don't have the water roll. And basically, if that's the case, then this card is just dead. I'm not expecting other people to play it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just obviously, there's Phoenix water roll, but are you unable to see beyond the darkness spreading Maho loving crab at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I still think. Well, I mean, obviously, I think Crab now enters the conversation. Absolutely, as a potential splash for Phoenix tempo decks. I still think Dragon will remain a strong contender. Unicorn have always been really, really cool and fun. Their splash is always amazingly fun to play, but never as brutally effective as either like Crab or Dragon or Lion or something like that. And this is just more of the same. It's a super cool card, but I honest to God think Phoenix have better things to be doing with their conflict deck these days than playing this, which is a strange thing to say. But hopefully Lion and Unicorn get water rolls, because it's a really cool card. It'd be nice. It'd be nice for it to see play. I'm not sure it's going to make the cut in top tier Phoenix decks.
And then our final card of the pack, we have Sabotage, a neutral event. It's 0 cost. This is Earth roll only. Action during a military conflict. Choose a card in an opponent's province. Discard that card. So Owen, obviously, Crab are the Earth roll clan.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Sabotage?
Cue the Beastie Boys. This is actually pretty good. It's free. It's the holding meta card people have been asking for, and it's the only people who can play it are Crab, who really like holdings. That said, it's very flexible about when you can play it. It's also controversially locked behind the Earth roll. So only Crab can, and like that's something we're gonna have to have a chat about at some stage. How well elemental roll locking of cards is working out. It's the fact that it can go right. I can be defending a military conflict, and I can use this to discard a card in your home. Hey, I think you're going to charge that guy in. Let me just discard him. Or I think you're going to use favorable ground to run one of your guys home or run an additional guy home after I swing the battle in my favor. Let me discard that. It's actually pretty powerful. I think, given how many people are playing holdings now, I think Crab are going to play this card. And I think a lot of people will be stroking their chin a little bit about what they want to play and what they want to have available as an option. I mean, I don't think many people are going to go for Earth. I think Earth is a hard sell for pretty much everybody, even going into the next cycle. But this is a really strong card, and it's quite controversial to have it locked like that behind the Earth roll. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it doesn't look super powerful, but I think it is actually quite strong, and I think it's another great card of this pack for Crab. So yeah, good, all good.
Any other thoughts on Sabotage?
Just a general theme that I absolutely hate the design of roll locking things. All of these cards, like there's a lot of chat in the or a lot of things being said in the chat, like why is this card locked behind a roll? This is a very important meta card for the environment. To lock it behind one of the most obscure rolls is really, really unfair to the game, I think, because the clans that need this the most are the ones who come up against Crab, not Crab. And now, of course, they couldn't have foreseen that this card would be roll locked so that only Crab can take advantage of it. Putting that aside, roll locking such an important card is really, really. And I think maybe John is having a good point as well, actually. Roll locking cards may be okay, but roll locking clans, I just think they've limited themselves so much in terms of deck design space. It just makes it so frustrating to look at all the things you could be playing, the themes you could be playing around, but for some arbitrary reason are locked out of.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing sorry if I can just make a point here about the roll locking. They've gone about roll locking completely the wrong way. I mean, we saw this again in old 5R. It was a decision, or it was a design problem that was solved in old 5R quite successfully, where previously you had meta cards that were just meta cards. That's all they did, and the solution was to tack on an effect that did something else, so that your meta card at least had a baseline of functionality. So it wasn't like your silver bullet meta wasn't useless if you didn't run into the single situation. Now, I'm not advocating that for this, but the way that they should have approached these cards is that Sabotage should have a 1 or 2 fate cost and should cost 0 fate if you've got the Earth roll.
Yeah.
That opens it up to everybody, but if you're not the Earth roll, you pay a premium on including that card. And that's the way they should have approached these cards. That would make these cards far more playable, but would open them up. And make them very, very good for the roles they have. But in general, again, like meta important cards like Sabotage shouldn't be roll locked anyway. Roll locking, if it's going to be used at all, should be used for cards that interact with a specific ring or flavor a specific build in a certain way. I agreed. We need something we should probably talk about as a topic of its own at some point in the future. But not a lot of positive things to say about how roll locking has been handled.
Yeah, and it is quite surprising because they've already got Walking the Way that had that particular mechanic where you got 1 cost reduction if it was for Shigenja. We've seen a line of elemental provinces where you are getting a bonus, and it's pretty clear that the +2 province strength was intended to be a bonus, even though a lot of people are suggesting it's the other way around. So I don't know, all the concepts are there, but with cards like this, they just didn't deliver. And with Sabotage in particular, like this is one card that I feel Dragon could have done with. Karada, when it pops up in that Crab matchup, and the Crab matchup can be very hard for Dragon, just tilts the game so badly. You can also see that situation with Phoenix when they're
Imperial Palace, Kanjo District. Yeah,
Kanjo should just be banned, but.
Like Sabotage would have helped the situation, but it's not going to. And I definitely think we should get into it a little bit more. But the fact that we're still relatively early in the card pool, and we're seeing packs where 4 or 5 cards out of the 20 cards in a pack could essentially be unplayable. Just no one able to play them.
I'm okay with. You remember in old 5R they had after I think it was Diamond Edition. They introduced the blood money rule, where you could overpay for if you were under an honor requirement or if you were buying out of clan or whatever. They just simplified and condensed some rules so that you had access to a much broader pool of cards, that you were fairly unrestricted, let's say, in how you access the cards. They should do something similar here. It's as printed if you are the role. It's 2 extra cost or 1 extra cost if you're out of role. As simple as. I mean, that's a blanket sort of fixer to most of the things that they're trying to, most of the problems that they've manufactured for themselves. But anyway, I mean, that's probably not good enough. It's probably not robust enough. But
and look, maybe we're underestimating design. Maybe once we hit Worlds, there'll be a big announcement, and at the end of it, the way rolls work will be completely different. We could have open rolls, we could get discounts, extra influence, whatever. Hopefully something happens along those lines.
Right. Well, we've dipped our toe in the rolls rabbit hole. We'll save diving headfirst in for another day. So that is all the cards. I think we kind of know the biggest winner is Crab, but are there any other sort of close seconds. Any other runners up that are worth talking about from this pack? Justin, what are your thoughts on winners and losers from the pack?
I think the Akoma Reservist is a superb card, one that Lion desperately needed, so that's a definite plus. Phoenix got some nice stuff. Feral Ningyo is good, and we'll see play. Oracle of Stone is potentially busted. Marauding Oni is great. That should see some play. Sabotage good for Crab, Crab already doing well. Tainted Koku, very, very good card. Upholding Authority, very, very good card. So yeah, there's the pack seems actually fairly split down the middle between super, super good stuff and super, super terrible stuff. So I'm not sure quite what to make of it in that regard. But stuff seems to either be really, really strong or really, really terrible.
I suspect Phoenix might be the big winner out of this with spreading the darkness with Coyote Musawa is just
true.
A lot.
Yeah, it's horrible to contemplate, to be honest.
Although with all that dishonor going around, maybe Scorpion are the real winners.
I don't think Scorpion took too much of a hit here. If not, they got at least one piece that they can play with the 1/1 for 1, who becomes a 1/3.
Yeah.
And they just
Tainted
all that
Koku's
honor
pretty
loss.
strong.
Tainted Koku super strong, yeah, exactly, and all that honor loss that on really, really important cards in the game now. I don't see a bad day for Scorpion yet.
No. Dragon didn't get a lot.
Yeah, just an extra monk to fill out the ranks. So
Yeah, Crane got the absolute shaft in this set.
Yeah.
I think they got
For sure.
basically nothing, which is a shame. And
telling
Unicorn.
you're all sleeping on Takako.
Maybe we are. And Unicorn after their glorious start to the cycle, kind of got a little dicked in this set. Though Sneaky Shinjo might make its way into decks. We'll see.
And Owen, your thoughts, obviously. Crab, you're a happy Crab.
Crab and Phoenix, they both do really well. Scorpion did quite well. I mean, it's a little bit of. I would have liked some more stuff in for the underperforming clans. I think Unicorn are suffering from not having a water roll. If Unicorn had Seeker or Keeper of water, I think they'd be an awful lot happier. I think they'd be going, okay, cool. But why would they have picked that? So yeah, they would to take Seeker or water. Jesus, right? Yeah, but yeah, they would have been happier with that, I think, because it's unfortunate because it's just the sort of card they'd want. So yeah, the rich get richer a little bit. Rich get richer.
And are you prepared for a beaver effect?
Just about. I don't have my textbook with me, but I can tell you.
Don't take it everywhere you go. I'm shocked. I'm appalled.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Spanish word for beaver is castor. And as I've said previously, North American beavers and Eurasian beavers have very different chromosome numbers, 40 and 48 respectively. Russians at one point attempted to breed them 27 times to see if you could crossbreed them, but they're quite different due to the large chromosome difference.
Wow.
And they only produce one stillborn infant. So yeah, not that genetically compatible. Much more an example of kind of convergent evolution.
I think that should be the mon for the beaver clan, the stillborn beaver.
Wow.
Beaver?
That's grim.
And then an X through a giant Russian flag in the background.
Hammer and sickle over it.
All right, that's a weird place to leave it. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do next week, but I think I can. So we may well be back next week if we have the cards all been previewed, as seems to be the case now. So that's great. It's really nice having all the images, and if you want sort of some thoughtful text-based versions of this, it's worth checking out Baz's article.
Team effort again.
Team effort.
Not all my blame.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Yeah, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and places like that, and Twitch. And thanks to chat, because they're awesome and always have
Thanks,
That's
Chad.
amazing.
Thanks for
awesome
coming in.
stuff. All right, bye all.
See you.
Take care.